Konnichiwa, Negi-san here again, and today what I thought to do is show you my Naomi motherboard. Why is this out of its case? Well, because originally this wasn't actually stuck on the original thermal paste. It cracked and actually allowed this to fall off, and this is actually the graphics heatsink. And if we know anything about graphics heatsinks, it's that they, well, not heatsinks, but the graphics chip, is that they fail, and when they fail, it creates nice lines and glitches on the screen, and it's not very nice. But yeah, so what I've done is gotten some very expensive Akata thermal sticky pad, which is basically like thermal paste, but you stick it onto the chip, stick the heatsink on that, and you don't need any screws, and it sort of it's like an adhesive. I don't know if I changed. Ooh, did I change it? It feels like it did. No, I did. Okay, so that's fallen off. I'll be changing that in a minute. But yeah, I thought I'd show you what this board is. Well, basically this is a Naomi 1 motherboard, and this is one of the earlier version motherboards, and you can tell by a couple of things. A, it has a Sanis fan. B, these ones are made in Japan. And C, these actually run House of the Dead. Yes, House of the Dead does run on this motherboard. Well, House of the Dead 2, but it doesn't run very well on later motherboards, because the later ones, they have a different graphics chip revision then, which causes issues. But this one is actually one of the earlier ones which has a compatible graphics chip, which makes it very good for, because it will play any Naomi game, which is, well, except for Naomi 2 games. So yeah, it's quite good. I've got the EEPROM E BIOS, which is not the best BIOS to use. Actually, the best one to use, I think, is F. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, it seems to work alright. I haven't actually checked the battery, which I must do at some point. Also, usually these things. Oh, hold on a second. They come with a little filter board, and what a filter board is basically has two connectors that go on the end, like so, and then it will give you the power, the RGB, the sound, Toslink for networking, JVS input, so a couple of other input options, and yeah. And what's interesting though is on the Naomi, you can see it's got space for RGB, LNR audio, it's got various connectors over here, dip switch it over there, test and service it. So I'm wondering if originally they wanted to make this board so you could actually have it, you didn't need a fill board, because I mean there are games that you can literally just buy that are ROM cartridges, and like just the PCBs of House of the Dead is actually like that. You can't buy it separate with a case. Only you do buy are just no, what's the word? They're just sort of repro cases. Is that the word? It's late at night. I can't think very well at the minute. But yeah, it's a nice little motherboard to have. I didn't actually buy it because it had Sanis. I just bought it because it was cheap at the time, and it turned out my lock paid off. So yeah, I thought I'd give a quick show you of my Naomi motherboard. I'll be changing the heatsink. I do actually have this, and this is a NetDim, and a NetDim is mainly people buy it for the network port, so they can actually do what's a process called net booting. And what that means is you connect this to a PC, you use a custom. Oh, hello, you can see me. Hello. You connect this to a PC, and you can actually download games onto the RAM. Because usually what happens is on a DIM board, when the Naomi boots or whatever, the Triforce, the Chihiro, Naomi 2, Lindbergh, small. Actually, Lindbergh doesn't do it. Similar process for Lindbergh. Basically, it loads all the data from the SCSI GD-ROM drive and downloads it onto the memory in here. This is actually SDR RAM, which is it's the previous generation of RAM before they turned it into double data rate, so single data rate, double data rate. Basically you can tell because it's got two notches on it. I think I've upgraded this to, I'm not sure, I believe it's either 512 or 1 gigabyte, and yeah, so this is basically, I think it's a 1 gig thing, but it only registers 512 now. I'm not sure because I can't remember when I last opened it. But in there I have got a IC chip, and that is what you call the net booting chip, and that's basically a PIC chip which has code that's just basically zeroed out. And basically how these work is once you downloaded it, that acts as like a decryption key, so all the games have a different code. And so all the process is on NetBooting is you first of all get the GD-ROMs, right, the GD-ROM disk, and well, get the image of it. You then, I think you decrypt it, and then you extract the data, at which point you can then send the data over to the DIM board, and because this has got a zeroed out chip, it doesn't need to do any decoding, so literally what's on the DIM cartridge is bootable. But you know, and there's even some programs that it means you don't even have to have that, which is great. So that's the process of net booting. I'm not, you know, you have to actually get the ROMs themselves, and usually people can use GD-ROM images from MAME. But the code to do it is not very easy to use, and I have done this. I have gotten several games to boot on this, but you know, I don't really use it so much. It's kind of, it cost me about £70, which was pretty expensive, I think. This was ages ago. But yeah, and that RS-232 port, that's because this actually works on Linux. I mean, it's like, this thing is actually basically a computer in itself. It's basically got another SH4 CPU, and basically when you turn this on, it boots Linux, at which point Linux handles the rest of it. And the RS-232 port is actually for debugging, and also it's you can use it if you set certain jumpers on the motherboard on the naomi. You can actually see Linux booting by using that serial port, which is pretty cool. And yeah, so the info about net booting, and I have gotten several games to boot. Like I said, I've got Lupin the Shooting, I believe, which didn't work for very long because I didn't have a compatible I/O board. I think I've had a couple of others run, but really I don't use this a whole lot. Most GD-ROM games are, you know, what's the word? Not to my taste. But yeah, so I'll be going and replacing that with a thermal paste. Thermal pad. But yeah, thought we'd have a look. And there's the SH4 CPU, which is basically CPU, CPU RAM, GPU, GPU RAM. Yeah, and like I said in the previous video, this is essentially a upgraded Dreamcast with, you know, VGA cable and just direct through power supply. Nothing really much different. In fact, it's so similar. It's even got ports. Yeah, you can just about read that. It says Maple. These are Maple bus, and you can literally attach Dreamcast controllers to them. But yeah, alright then. It's late at night. I better go and get some kip. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed.